Wow, there's so much that led up to it, you know. I just want to let people know first off that heaven's real, that God is real, whatever you want to call it, Creator, Heavenly Father, Great Spirit. You know, I choose to call it, you know, like God, Heavenly Father, you know, Holy Spirit, Yeshua, but it is definitely 100% real. And so, what led up to the NDE? This was my second NDE. I've actually had multiple. So, I had a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of really difficult, challenging things in my life. My life has not been easy by any means. I didn't have really a stable home or a household. My parents had their own trauma, so they were always fighting and yelling and screaming. Because I was so in tune spiritually at a young age, I would see energy and orbs and like talk to animals, right? Which is very abnormal. I was made fun of relentlessly and I was picked on and bullied nonstop. I was just different being so tuned in at a young age. And so at the young age of 8 years old, I was suicidal. I wanted to die because I was like, how can this world be so evil? Like these people say that they know God, but they don't know God. Like they treat people terribly. Like like I just, my young mind, I just didn't understand. I was so hyper aware and so emotionally in tune and spiritually in tune. It just, I was like, this world's demonic. This is crazy. I don't want to live here. The people are mad. And so I was suicidal at 8 years old. And then my life just kept moving forward with challenges and difficulties. And I'm grateful for it now because it's forged me into who I am so that I can help out other people. And I get it now. But when you're in the mix of it, when you're in the forge, when you're in the pressure and everything is challenging and it seems like the whole world is against you, it's really because that God has a big calling for you because your spirit's strong enough to actually move through difficulties and challenges and trials. And this is what we signed up for before we came to Earth and really showed up in our physical bodies. And so, right out of high school, I got into firefighting. So, I was a wildland firefighter in a helicopter attack crew and command teams. And so we would travel all across the country and be working for months on end on the road, working 16 hours a day, up to 21 hours a day, hopping out of helicopters, fighting forest fires, consistently going from a fight or flight response all the time. So it altered my physiology and my psychology. And I had PTSD and I didn't realize it. I didn't recognize it. I didn't know what was going on. And as a man, number one, in being a frontline first responder and a man, you can't really talk about your feelings or your emotions. It's like, be tough, like buck up, cowboy, you know, like you can't talk about your feelings and emotions. And so men, we don't really know how to feel what we need to feel to heal it. And so I was running for a really long time. I got into drinking. I was numbing out. I just had a massive amount of trauma and pain, and I was just running and I didn't understand it. And so in 2017, that's when I had my second NDE. The first one was in 2010. I had an overdose and my heartbeat was at 10 beats a minute on a whole cocktail full of pills and stuff like that. I wasn't trying to commit suicide by any means, but I just wanted to numb out. And so, but we'll fast forward to 2017. And so I had left the fire world. I had done everything that society had told me that I needed to do. You know, like you go and see a therapist and you go to rehab and you do all these things. And I was trying my best to understand and navigate it, but I was still so broken. The system seemed so broken to me. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like it just seems like it recycles through people and brings them in and out of rehabs and all kinds of stuff. So I got out of that. I was in corporate finance at the time, and my thinking was that money will solve all my problems, and money was my God. I didn't look at it as a tool. I didn't look at it as useful. I just looked at it as like I needed this to feel whole because once I get money, I'll be completely perfectly fine. And that's what materialism does, and marketing and advertising. So people are constantly caught in this loop, in this 3D materialistic matrix mesh. And so I had left my home in Utah at the time. I was married at the time, but I was on the outside. It seemed like everything was great, right? I had this wonderful job. I was married to this beautiful woman, like all these things. I was the healthiest that I'd been at the time, but really my soul inside was so sad. I was so broken, and I had achieved these things. That's the American dream, and this is what you do, and everything will be happy. But I felt so empty, and I felt so lost, and so I was numbing out. I was pretty toasted. I was drunk, and I left on a motorcycle that my buddy actually let me use. I've ridden motorcycles my whole life. I didn't have mine at the time. I went to go get a pizza. I had gotten into an argument with my ex-wife, my former wife, and I left. I left, and I'm cruising around Salt Lake City, and I was drunk, but I was just like, yeah, whatever, like, man, right in, and thinking I'm really cool, and just so lost and broken as a man. So I get a pizza, I put it on the back of the motorcycle, and I'm cruising around. It has the little uh, rack and bungee cords and stuff like that. So I'm cruising down Hollywood Avenue, and so it was, I don't even know what time at night it was. It was later at night. And I look behind me to make sure that the pizza's okay, because it was a pepperoni pizza. And I'm like, hey, you okay, bro? And I turn around and check just for a brief second. And when I turn back around, on the street, there was no light poles, there was no reflectors, there was no signs, there was no nothing, but there was a roundabout right in the middle that I couldn't see. And so as soon as I turned back around, there was the roundabout, and I hit it head first. And so thank God my face broke my fall. I had no helmet on. I had no helmet on. It was a blunt force impact, head first trauma on a motorcycle, and I hit the right side of my face. So my entire right side of my face, you can see the scars a little bit here where they had to reconstruct my face, 11 and a half hours worth of surgery. But my face got shattered, my jaw busted in half. It ripped from my skull on the left side. I had massive internal bleeding in my brain, my kidney, my spleen. I had 3 shattered ribs, a shattered scapula, a broken arm, 2 fractures, and 3 torn ligaments in my left leg. And I'm on my back, and I'm hemorrhaging massively out of my right eye socket, and my mouth is tilted in such a way that the blood is hemorrhaging into my mouth. So I'm asphyxiating on my own blood, and I knew I was about to die. I knew it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going in and out of consciousness, and I'm just breathing, trying to breathe, but I'm gurgling in my own blood, just blood-soaked breaths and pain that was so unbearable. And I prayed to God. I said, please save me. I don't want to die. Please, I know you have to be real. Please. And at that moment, my soul leaves my body, and I blast out, and I go into heaven. And it was this perfect, epic white bliss. And people are like, what is it like, RoyalKye? Well, it's like, well, I want you to imagine your happiest moment, your most peaceful moment, your most joyful moment, your most loving moment that you've ever felt in your life, and times it by 1,000,000, and maybe we get close, because it's this omnipresent, all-pervading feeling. There's no pain, there's no sorrow, there's no sadness. It is this complete, all-encompassing peace and serenity, and I've never felt more loved, more understood, more seen in my entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to stay here. And my soul, my consciousness, my spirit was there, and I felt it. And I was like, ah. And I knew that I was in the presence of God, of Creator. I knew it. There's no denying it. There's no denying that. It's like, wow, there's a power that's beyond anything that we could ever comprehend, that animates everything, that created everything, that we're here as beings that were crafted in its image. And it was just, and so it's humbling, but it wasn't scary. And so in my mind, because you're not in your physical body, your soul's detached completely. In my mind, in my spirit, it's like this telepathy, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna stay here. And this voice says, you can't stay here. You have to go back. And I was like, go back? No way in hell. Like, no way, bro. I'm not going back. Are you crazy? The world's hard, and it's mad, and it's just chaos. There's a bunch of crazy bastards down there. I'm one of them. I'm not going back. I'm not. There's no way. I'm not going back. And the voice, that's this omnipotent, powerful, but loving voice is like, you have to go back. You can't stay here. And I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, please, I don't want to go back. Please, I'm begging, right? I'm just like, no, I don't want to go back. My life has been so hard, it's so challenging, and I talk about it in my book of overcoming trauma and PTSD and all kinds of stuff. It's just beyond. And I'm like, I'm not going back. And God's like, you have to go back. And so on the third time when he says I have to go back, I see my body in this bloody, mangled, massive destruction. It looks like a murder scene. There's blood everywhere. It's just a bloody carnage. And I'm like, okay, if I have to go back, you have to make sure that I'm not paralyzed. I don't have a traumatic brain injury. I'm not a vegetable, and I'll go and do whatever you want me to do. I'll serve you. I'll be your man. Like, if you tell me to jump, I'll say how high. If you say do push-ups, like, I'll say how many, but you have to heal me. You have to teach me how to like heal and be whole, because I'm so broken and I haven't wanted to be alive for most of my life because of crazy things that have happened to me, not even of my own accord. Childhood trauma and all kinds of things from like, I mean, just, it's in my book, like molestation, rape, physical abuse, like bullying, like suicide, like all kinds of stuff, like terrible things, right? But I get it now. And I'm like, okay, like I'll if you save me, I'll do whatever you want. And he's like, all right, man, I'll give you that shot. Like I'll teach you. Like I'll this is what we'll make a deal. So I made a deal in my life. And then I made a deal with God, right? I bargained with him. And there's no, I mean, I had to come back anyway. So like, if I have to come back, like I'm not going to be much used to if I'm a vegetable. And so my soul goes back into my body, and there's a trauma doctor that found me that lived right across the street, the only person in the world that could have saved me. So he runs up to me. It was in the middle of the night. I'm bleeding out everywhere. I wasn't breathing because I couldn't breathe. I was asphyxiated in my own blood. He's like, man, this dude's dying. Like he's like, oh, like he's about to die. Like my soul just come back into my body. And he's like, well, I have to turn him over. So he cradles my spinal column and he turns me over so he can open up my airway, and then the blood starts coming out. And he takes off his shirt and he's trying to stop the bleeding. He's able to call 911, and they dispatch an ambulance that's literally 2 blocks away from where I was. So close. This is no accident. No accident by any means. So close. They show up on the scene right away. The golden hour is extremely important within trauma care and triage. And it was far below that timeline. So they show up, they start working on me, and he's just like, we got to get this guy to the hospital now. Let's go, let's go. They're loading me up. They're doing this stuff, And the craziest part about this is my dad shows up in all of Salt Lake City. I hadn't talked to him for, a week, maybe a week and a half. And he shows up, kitty corner location, GPS pinpoint location on the corner of the street. Boom. And he's watching all this. And there's a paramedic that runs up to him and said, sir, you don't want to see this. This is nasty. This guy's going to die. And he's like, that's my son. God told me that he was going to be in an accident. He's going to live. And that's why I'm here. I'm praying for him. And this dude's like, what the hell? Are you serious? And so they went back to loading me up. They loaded me into the ambulance. They rushed me off. And I didn't see that doctor. I didn't know who he was. I was completely out of it. I didn't know of that man until 4 years later. And I'll get into that story. And so the only reason why I know this stuff is because God led me to him 4 years later on the anniversary of my accident when I was visiting Salt Lake City. But they rushed me up to the hospital. God stopped the bleeding in my brain. There was no swelling. There was nothing, no traumatic brain injury, no spinal column injury, nothing. They stented my kidney and my spleen, and then they started reconstructing my face 11 hours with plates and titanium and screws and wiring this back together and hooking it back up to my skull and going in my mouth and rebuilding like my entire right side of my face. And so I wake up in the hospital a day later, my jaw's wired shut. I can't talk because my jaw's wired shut. My face is completely swollen. And I realized what had happened, and it was my fault. And I was like, my God, I only have one of two options. I can either continue going forward on a path of destruction and pain and anger, or I completely surrender my life to a higher power and God and ask Him for help because I'm alive. And the doctors, when they came in, they're like, dude, you're the luckiest man alive. We've never seen anything like this. For you to have a blunt force trauma on a motorcycle without a helmet head first and not be a vegetable and not have traumatic brain injury and not like be completely wrecked is insane. You're freaking lucky you have somebody looking out for you. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. And so I was like, all right, like I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to learn how to heal. And I'm going to take this message in my story and I'm going to share it with people and I'm going to help people. And so I adopted an aspect of gratitude, even though I was in the hospital, even though I was in this utter pain and it was destruction. I adopted this attitude of gratitude and I commanded my cells, I commanded my spirit, I commanded my body through prayers, through meditation, through many people's prayers. I said, I heal rapidly. My body is vibrating at the highest frequency. Each and every cell is filled with golden light, and I'm healing. I'm vibrant. I have vim and vigor and vitality. And I was only in the hospital 2 weeks, Natasha. I was in the hospital 2 weeks. And I was working out 3 months later. The doctors are like, this is insane. This is medically impossible. How are you doing this? And I said, I know how we can heal. I know how to empower people. And so that's what my book is about. And that's what my mission is about. So I didn't meet this doctor until 4 years later. This is what happened. I didn't know any of that stuff that happened that night. But God's like, when I was in Salt Lake City, I had gotten back into firefighting. I was visiting my family. I was off of a fire. And God's like, you're going to go to where the accident was. And you're going to go and like start knocking on doors to find the man. It was this intuitive thought. So I went there and I started just knocking on doors. Boom, first house, nothing. Second house, knock, 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 nothing. Third house, knock, 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 nothing. Like nobody answers, nobody's around. And then I look and I saw the house and I got goosebumps all over my body. And I was like, oh, okay, that's the house. So this time I'm in a complete white tunic, white pants, and I'm wearing my Rudrakshi beads that are symbolic for my near-death experience. And when I put them on, I'm like, okay, like today, like I only have today to live. Like I'm on a bonus round. Like I could have been dead many times. I'm on a bonus round. So I knock on the door, and this young kid, maybe 16 years old, opens up. He's like, hey, can I help you? And I was like, have you guys lived here for a couple of years? He's like, yeah. I was like, do you remember a motorcycle accident like a while ago? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm that man. He goes, holy shit. He's like, oh, I got to get my dad. I got to get my dad. So he slams the door and I hear this scurrying behind the door and this, talking and stuff. And then his father comes up and he's wearing an apron. So he was cooking. It was at nighttime. He has his hair slicked back. He's in his, mid 60s. And he's like, yeah, can I help you? Really really blunt. I was like, oh, this is the dude that saved my butt. All right. And so I was like, do you remember a motorcycle accident a couple years ago? And he's like, yeah. And we look at each other and we lock eyes. And I said, I'm that man. And right at that moment, we both knew each other. He knew that I was the one that he had saved. And I knew that he was the one that saved me. And he's like, there's no way. He's like, there's no way you lived for that. You died. Like you died when you got into the ambulance. I knew I didn't think you would live. Like I didn't think you would live. I said, I lived because you saved my life. And God sent me here tonight to tell you that thank you for saving my life. And he's like, no way, this is insane. He's like, you're not that man. You're not that man. And then we embrace in this most sacred hug. And I said, thank you for saving my life. Thank you. And if you've never met the person that has saved your life, it's like the most epic feeling. It's super, super intense. And so he's like, do you know what happened that night? I was like, no, man, like I don't remember really anything. And he told me. And then his son was like, yeah, my dad came in and woke us all up and he had his shirt off and there's blood over his hands and his arms and his chest and it looked like he'd murdered somebody. I was like, yeah, that was my blood. And so that's where the story really begins on like more of the healing and empowerment. And I talk about all the things that I went through and overcome, and like share that with readers and individuals, because it's a whole framework on taking them through my journey so that they can understand their perspectives and their paradigms. And there's workbooks and reflective questions and journaling prompts and all kinds of stuff. So that's the meat and the potatoes of it, Natasha.
Well, that was quite intense.
Yeah.
And while you were talking about meeting him, I was just feeling goosebumps as well, because that is a moment that is just a knowingness. Like, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once our eyes locked, it was so intense, and it was just like time froze, and it was like, wow.
Well, by all accounts, you shouldn't be sitting here, actually. So definitely there was a hand in it.
Yeah.
Um, when you say you know how to heal, is that like something that opened up for you on the other side, that you kind of realized, I have the ability to do that. I have the ability to affect my cells. Did something change? Did you kind of feel like you came back with a gift?
In a sense, yeah, it's like this knowing, like I was given a key. And it's interesting because my name, KYE, it comes from my 16th century Germanic ancestors, and it means keeper of the key or bringer of light. And I didn't understand this until I was 33 on the island. So I was like, wow. And I asked my dad, I said, where did you get that name? He's like, I just knew it was your name. God told me it was your name. That was a part of your name. I was like, all right. So it's like this key. So I am the key, right? God's the key, Yeshua the light, the Holy Spirit, right? The Spirit is the key, but yet I can help people realize that they can be the key as well, and that we have the power to be able to do that. And it's it's really getting out of our own way. It's really understanding that we are divine beings, that we are crafted in such a marvelous way that when we speak and when we think and when we command ourselves and when we declare and decree and we know where the authority comes from, that's like where the power comes from. And so it's something. And I was reading a lot too. I was reading all kinds of stuff. I mean, from Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I mean, on healing and quantum physics and physiology and psychology. And I just was devouring it all.
Well, I have heard so many people that where their names have actually, suggested what they're actually doing with their lives. It's not a coincidence at all.
No, people are like, I'm sorry that you had the accident. I'm like, I'm not. But this is the kicker, right, Natasha? So because I had alcohol in my system, because I was over the legal limit, the insurance company, even though I had, you know, motorcycle insurance, vehicle insurance, life insurance, like all these different things, right? Because I was over the legal limit, they decided to deny all of my health care. So I was left with a $500,000 medical bill. Everything that I'd saved up, everything that I'd built up, everything that I had worked for, I went through divorce, I went through bankruptcy, I lost my job. And there was a point when it was so bad because if I was like, I created this destruction, this madness, and this is so painful, and this is just insane. I wanted to die, even though I'd been in the presence of God, but I didn't realize that I was in the presence of God until years later, and I had done a lot of the trauma healing, and then it came in this vision, and I knew that it was there, and that God gave me everything. And so it was really challenging for a long time. So when people are going through difficult situations or circumstances, I'm like, I get it. I know. And so that's what I'm here to share with people is just because we've experienced something doesn't mean that that's where we have to stay. Just because we've had not maybe the easiest lot in life doesn't mean that that's going to be our end story, because God has an amazing plan for us once we really surrender to it and open up to guidance and to understanding and to the Spirit so that we can be where we need to be and do what we need to do.
Yeah, he literally stripped every label off you. Anything you thought you were.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm a firefighter. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm a business guy. No, you're not. Oh, I'm a married man. No, you're not. Like, oh, I have money, and no, you don't. And then,
Well,
who are you?
yes. Did you also go through, I mean, obviously you went through that deep depression because you wouldn't have been so suicidal, especially when you've experienced the other side. What started happening for you to start shifting out of that state?
So one of the things, I mean, this is the crazy part, right? Because I was so depressed, because like I was in this mountain of chaos and pain, and I'm just like, I don't even want to live, man. Like, of course you've saved me, but like right now it's insane. It's hard. I went back to drinking just to keep on numbing out, you know. Like at the time, like I didn't want to get married. I got married just because of family and religion, and that's what you do. You know, I grew up Mormon, and it's like you just get married and you have kids and you follow the program. And I knew in my soul it wasn't right. And God even said, like, hey, don't have kids with her. Like, it's not right. It's going to complicate things. And so I didn't. But I'm glad now, because like I was stuck in a marriage that I wasn't supposed to be in. I was in a job that God never really wanted me to be in. I mean, just with my talents and skills and ability, I was just in it just for money. And God's like, no, that's not what it's about. And so I remember one time when I was so depressed, and I had, you know, like a gun, and I said, God, I'm just going to kill myself, bro. Like, I know you saved me, but like, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is so much pain. This is so much trauma. And he's like, you won't die. You can't die. I will make sure that you live, and you'll be on a feeding tube the rest of your life. And he showed me a vision of myself. I was like, bro, like, I hate you. You suck. You suck. So here I am in pain and suffering and misery and all this stuff. I can't die. And what am I supposed to do? So I had to completely let go of everything. I had to let go of my identity. I had to ask for help. I had to surrender. And I'm like, God, just please reformat my heart, my soul, my body, my mind. Like, just please. And so it's been this journey of self-development and improving in spirituality, and really like Yeshua. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Yeshua and like the Holy Spirit, and like asking for help. And like I've been a part of many, you know, spiritual practices and traditions and medicine journeys, from, you know, ayahuasca and DMT and MDMA and all kinds of stuff. But it really wasn't until like I asked for help from Yeshua that stuff really started to change. And I'm like, okay, like I get it. We're in spiritual warfare. There's entities or demonic energies or whatever that do not want people to be happy and healthy. They sow chaos and destruction. We're in spiritual warfare. And that's why the fabric of reality is the way it is. And so I understand all that now. And that's what I help people with understanding. But it's been probably, I mean, so challenging. And I asked Natasha, I said, why has my life been so difficult? Like I told God after, you know, he kept me alive and stuff started to get better. But I was just like, why am I even here? And I wrote him a letter, and I asked very specific questions in it. And I'm like, if you don't show up for me and really help me understand why I'm here and what I'm to do, I'm going to turn into a Machiavellian monster. I'm not going to care about anybody. I'll forsake you forever, and I'll just cause chaos because I have so much pain. And that's what happens to a lot of people, you know, especially when they're super empathetic. And so a week later, this lady shows up at the gym. She's like 70 years old, has this piercing green eyes. She's maybe like 5'2". I'm in the hot tub, and then she sits down next to me. She just looks at me, and she starts talking to me like she knows me. And I'm just like, what? And she basically said, listen, Kai, like God saved you for a reason. You're here to share your testimony. Like you have everything that you need. And she answered every single one of my questions. And when she was speaking, the acoustics and where we were completely changed. And there was nobody else around, but it was like a bell that was over us. And she was looking at me intensely, and it was like looking into my soul. I was like, okay, all right, I get it. And so she was either like an angel or being like transfigured by God. It was intense. I was like, okay, God, all right, I get it, bro. Like, thank you. Like, just help me out. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you know, you asked for it.
I did. Ask and you shall receive.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that, and I've seen this a lot, men have been taught not to have emotion. But like, it's like, and to me, I think it's one of the reasons why the society is so dysfunctional,
100%.
because it becomes trauma. You store it, and what do you do with it? So everybody's operating like on half mast. Is that how do you see that changing? Because you obviously were picked on in that because you are more empathetic and you are feeling. So, it's like, let's pick on him because he's the weak one or whatever they see it as.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And that was like they did see it as like empathy when I was younger, right? It's like, oh, you're I was mocked and I was teased and I was ridiculed. I mean, oh, whatever, pretty boy. And so being sensitive that, people are like, whatever, faggot and stuff. I'm just like, what is the hell is wrong with like people? Like this is like I'm just like loving and kind, like I'm like all these things. And so I understand it now that that's my makeup for being more emotionally in tune, like, and understanding that I'm here to help out other like men understand their feelings and emotions, right? And so being in like, I know that like when my wife shows up, like we're going to be helping out men and women with our ministry and all these things, right? And so it's like I've had to go through the things that I've had to go through to be able to understand what I now know to help people understand their inner landscape. Because I grew up in Wyoming, it was the Wild West. You have to be rough, you have to be tough. I grew up on the United States' largest Native American reservation. And so it's like deep rooted trauma on both sides. And the dichotomy of it is like, you don't feel your feelings, you don't feel your emotions. So what happens? Yeah, you suppress them, it becomes trauma, it becomes anger. People, they blow up in other nefarious ways. That's part of the reason too, domestic violence and things, because people don't know how to understand their emotional landscape and regulate and discharge trauma. And so then men just blow up or they completely shut down. And another thing is if it's not a safe container for the men to express, and a woman mocks him or makes fun of him or calls him a little, whiny baby or a little bitch, whatever, right? Like it happens, that man will shut down and he'll never, ever open up again, ever. And so women have been taught as well to like criticize or not be safe in certain aspects when men open up because they're just like, you have to be mean and rough and tough and a provider and you can't feel your feelings or emotions. And it's so inhumane, it's disgusting. And that's why so many men commit suicide, because they just don't understand. And it's sad. It is a very, very large cause of what's happening in the world today. I believe being emotionally in tune, of course, like men are here to be strong and protectors and providers. But on the other side of it, it's like we can be compassionate and loving and kind. And that's what a true man is. A true man is being able to feel his feelings and emotions in a healthy way and being able to move through them without, drinking or drugs or sex or whatever it is to distract you and to numb you, but really to sit with it and be a sentient savage and be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. If I need to rage and scream and cry, that's what I'm going to do in a healthy manner and move through it so that I can operate in my internal sovereignty and understand that landscape.
Yeah. Well, I think there are a lot more men being, coming into the world now that are more connected to their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm glad. And you're right, women do tend to emasculate men as well if they say certain things. But I think that's also coming from their own trauma again. I
Yep.
mean, what do they know? They just share what they know from what they've seen with their parents, and it just gets
Mm-hmm.
perpetuated.
Yeah.
And it is about, you know, you don't have to follow what your forefathers did because that's what led to the dysfunction in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you have a new generation so you can make the world a better place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say no. Like this ends with me. This is not going to be carried in my lineage anymore. Like I am the generational trauma breaker. I am the curse breaker. Like I am the light and the truth because I, have that inside of me. And to
Yeah.
really reprogram the DNA. And what I've understood as well as I've been on this deeper healing journey and healing generational patterns. And a lot of the stuff hasn't even been mine. It's been from generational sin or trauma and all kinds of things that have passed down. And as I've been healing, my parents have been healing. And as I've been healing my genetic code and my DNA, my parents have been healing because I'm a part of them. So I'm just like, this is nuts. The more work that I do, I don't hold any grudgements or hate towards them. The more love I have for myself, the more love I have for them and offers them a place to heal. And it's like, it's this interesting thing because we're of a similar genetic makeup, right? So you're like, okay, so I was sent into this family and into this lineage to be able to heal 7 generations past and 7 generations forward.
Have you done family constellation work then?
I mean, I don't know that specific terminology, but just like in all of my experiences and work, like just knowing
Because
it, you know?
because that's exactly what they do, and it's 7 generations. And in the Bible, they talk about the seven, it's the 7 sons and the sins of the father, and it goes back 7 generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
is powerful. It's like holographic because you're also healing your unborn children.
Yes. That's the coolest part. So I understand it. That's why I've had to go through everything to clear everything, to start a new lineage. And that's why all my other relationships that I've really wanted to work out and these women that I loved, but it wasn't right, was just to have the experiences to heal from it, to upregulate, to understand a new genetic signature for the new. uh,
Because otherwise, you're having still that dysfunction, or you're not completely healed, so you're still going to pass that forward. It's awesome.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your book.
Yeah, so my book right here, I send out copies. If you're in the United States, I can send them and ship them easily. But it's 444 pages. That number wasn't by accident. I never thought I was going to write a book. God guided me to write it. And each time I was writing it, I'm just like, all right, tell me what you want me to do and write and share. And I did. And now I channel into it. And I share everything about all my experiences. And it takes the reader down this journey so that they can understand their perspectives and their paradigms. And so if you're in the US, I can send it and ship it to you. If you're not, I have a digital bundle. So you get the ebook, the workbook, the audio book. I already have people in Australia, in Germany, in Romania, I mean, all over the world that are going down on the journey. So 15 chapters. In each chapter, you get reflective prompts, journaling questions, and it really probes the psyche so that you can understand what was it like when I was younger? What limiting beliefs have I been holding on to? There's daily reflections so you can tune into gratitude and what went good, what went bad, understanding your North Star, just a vast amount of resources, and you can listen to it on audiobook too. So for the digital bundle, it's just $44, and it's a mystical, magical journey, miraculous journey, and letting people know that, hey, God's real, heaven's real, like we're divine beings, like magic's real, and not like hocus pocus magic, like this divine orchestration of this universal guidance and understanding that's kind of supernatural and paranormal. Once we tap into it, once we open up, if you really want to know, it's like, God, give me the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the heart to feel the truth. And when people read it, I tell them, I say, hey, it's going to be stranger than fiction. It's going to be kind of a little bit more intense than a Harry Potter movie, kind of, right? Because it's like this stuff is so beyond. Like, how is this like Lord of the Rings, right? How is this possible? Well, because like our world is far more magical than what we have been led to believe. And that's what I want people to know, that your life has value, like your life has meaning. God has a plan for you. And the mess becomes the message. The pain becomes the purpose. You know, the mess and the trauma and the tragedy, God transmutes into the triumph so that you can help other people. So instead of looking at it like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Look at it as, oh, okay, so what did my soul want to learn? And how can I be able to be of the utmost use for my brothers and sisters on the planet and be able to offer value and receive value from it? And that's what it's really about. So yeah, that's that's about the book.
Awesome. Well, I'll post that below. Do you have a website as well, or I know you've got a TikTok channel?
Yeah, well, my website is miraclemanjourney.com. We're moving over to Miracle Maker movement because it's the Miracle Maker movement. It's like understanding people that you can make miracles happen. You can change your life. You can change your family's life. We can change our communities, our nations, our world, and to own who God made us to beam bright, to be just light and be love, but be fierce and hold healthy boundaries and knowing who we are and why we were sent here. And so the TikTok is really where I connect with most of the people, but I'm going to start doing more long form content on YouTube, and everybody's like, where's your podcast? So I'm just like, I'm working on it. Like, so
You've been busy.
yeah.
You know what I love about your book though is you've got the journaling and that people, because you don't change from intellectual information. You
Yep.
only change from experience, and that then becomes wisdom and self-knowledge. You have to go through the process. You have to do
Yep.
the letting go. You have
Yeah.
to question your beliefs.
Yep. Yeah, and it gets deep. I mean, there's a gentleman in Australia right now that, I connected to on TikTok, and I said, "Hey, bro, how's your journey going?" He's like, "Oh, the workbook's really intense." I'm like, "It's supposed to be." I tell people, go into it brave, be honest, be real, follow the program as you're listening to the book or you're reading the book, and be honest with the questions and the prompts, because it's going to help you expand your consciousness through the neuroplasticity, but also deeper connection to, your heart and God.
Yeah, well, I mean, God is not really out there, it's in here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's in here, and the kingdom of heaven is within, but it's everywhere, right? Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think people try to get there by going to church on Sundays, and that's not. I mean, if it helps you to remember that there's God and you go on Sunday, great. But that's not when God appears. He doesn't think, okay, it's Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. Let me appear to
Yeah, I'm all about
church.
relationship. Yeah, I'm not about religion. And I think a lot of the things that have been happened in the name of religion have really turned people off to Yeshua, to the truth. And I see it now. It's like, because of what's happened, a lot of people have been turned away from like the true truth, because they're like, well, religion is crazy and look at all this stuff and that's happened. But we've needed that to get to this expansion of collective consciousness, because we've had to have, a form that we can push into and expand out of.
Yeah, I love the way you've explained that. Because yes, at least there was something.
Yep. Yeah.
And the church has done a great lot of bad things, but it's also done a great lot of good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, like, look at how many people have been, helped out, and like the missionary efforts and the food and the donations and the money. That's like, the churches have done a massive amount of good as well. To say it's all bad, like, that's just a large fallacy. That's not even accurate. It's a yin and a yang. If you're gonna, you know, completely equate it to all bad, you can't, because it's like the same thing. It's like, well, all this stuff happened to me when I was younger and it was so bad. It's like, yeah, but look at all the good that came from it, right? Don't be bitter, become better, you know.
I love your play on words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good, because what I discovered in my healing is like, what we don't feel, we can't heal, and then what we conceal takes the will, and it's driving our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And words are powerful. There's, like you say, with your name too. For
Yeah.
everything there is meaning. My daughter told me this, and I didn't know it, but there's an African tribe in South Africa where if the child screams all the time and they decide that maybe the child doesn't like the name, they change the name, the child stops screaming.
Mm.
I mean, wow. So that already tells you, like, this person says I don't resonate with that name. It's not who I am. This is who I am.
That's cool. I like that. Yeah, in Hawaii, because I live in Hawaii. Yeah, there's certain names that, because they want to imbue a name with, the characteristics or the temperament and the things. And there was this baby that they gave him a name. My buddy Jericho was just telling me about this. He's Kanaka, he's Hawaiian lineage, and this baby got really, really sick, and they went to a kahuna, which is a priest, and the priest, they're like, we don't know what's wrong. Like, we run all the medical tests, like, but the baby, like, they say nothing's wrong with him, but he's just not, like, right. And he's like, what's his name? And they told him the name. He's like, well, that makes perfect sense. You're gonna have to adopt a new name. That doesn't make, like, you can't give him that name, because it was a name. It was a portion of Kamehameha's name, and like, they're like, that's not gonna work.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
isn't that going back to the lineage again? It's there's power in the words, and whatever the person named your child as, you're putting that energy through with it. And the
Hmm.
child's saying, "Oh, I don't want that energy because that energy is not good for me."
Yeah, or it's too intense. I can't handle it in my vessel, right? Like it's just I'm not able to handle that capacity of that signature. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, and I talk about this in the book. My birth name is Kai Funk, Kyefunk, Funke. So Funk is German, and it means a blacksmith or a spark or a very lively person. So then Kai is the keeper of the key or the bringer of light, and then the spark. And I'm just like, this is interesting, right? But after my near-death experience, after all this healing, when I was on the island, me understanding more of my lineage and what my name was, I did a 30-day coconut fast. So I only drank coconut water for 30 days. I did 11 hydrocolonics. I did a parasite cleanse. I did a heavy metal detox. And on the 30th day, as I was clearing these parasites, as I was clearing these old programs, something in the outside world was trying to keep me locked into that energetic signature. I was being attacked. I had to like literally rebuke a lady in the store because she was just like, "Who do you think you are?" And I was like, "I rebuke you, Satan. Get back in the name of Jesus." Like it was crazy, right? Wild stuff. On the 30th day, I wake up and I'm literally screaming and crying. I'm like, I'm dying. I've died. No, I'm not dying. I'm not going to die. And then I went to my hydrocolonic session and I passed a massive parasite that was, like this thick and was feet and feet long that had been there for who knows how long, years and years and years. And so after that, I was in a meditation and I left again. I had an out of body experience. And I'm in this place that it was kind of like Sedona. It was this energy vortex. It was really intense. And there was all these tribal elders from all the communities around the world, all colors and creeds. And they're talking about quantum warp drives and 0 point gravity and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is intense. They're talking about the future of mankind. And I know I'm out of my body, right? Like I'm in this place and I'm there. And this elder walks up to me and he was just like, like in the archetypical like wise old man or the wise old woman or the all father. And he walks up to me and he says, "What's your name?" And without missing a beat, I say, "My name is RoyalKye Aurelius Funk." And he's like, "Yes, it is." And his eyes light up like gold. And he's like, "You're here for a big reason. Now is your time." And I got shot into my body. It was like I got hit by a lightning bolt. And I was on my bed meditating, and it hit me so intensely. I launched up off of my bed and I landed on my feet. And I was like, what the freaking heck? It's like, what the hell? And then God's like, "This is your new name now." I was like, I'm not going to walk around telling everybody that my name is RoyalKye Aurelius Funk. Like, no way. I'm not going to do that. God's like, "This is your new name now. Like, this is what you have to be known as." And I'm like, are you sure? And then a week later, a buddy of mine that I hadn't talked to in a year sent me this video of this pastor talking about when God is ready to use people, he gives them new names. And like a lot of the people have been named, in the Bible in different places once they've reached a certain level of their development or growth. And so legally now, like I've changed everything. My full name is RoyalKye Aurelius Funk. And so I'm just like, all right, like here we go. Like it's intense.
That's pretty intense. But what's also interesting? There was a guy that I was watching. He was from West Africa somewhere, and he was like very high up in the. I think he was no, he was brought up by a shaman or whatever, the witch doctors.
Hmm.
Very high up in the witch doctor rank, and he was sent off to like some holy gathering and all of that stuff. But he said he was told that there were women in his village that were praying and holding vigil, and they were praying because he was not of the good side, he was the dark forces.
Yeah.
They were praying and they were going to hold vigil, and they'd made a covenant, a pact that they would pray for, I think it was 60 days non-stop. And his job was to go back and stop them from praying. Because
Mm.
if they did, they would actually win over the dark side and the light side would win. And like he wasn't talking that it's just some, backdoor stuff that was going on. This is like real heads of state that were at present at this meeting. And he actually went back to try and stop those women from praying. And he said he was walking down the corridor. He was staying in this university where all these people were. And he actually walked into Jesus or somebody who was like an angel, and his eyes just glowed right through him, and he said he froze in fear, and he's never been afraid because he could create such magic. He could do so many things. He could kill somebody just with words. And
Yeah.
this was the only being that he'd ever encountered that
Yeah.
could just stop him in his tracks. And from that day,
Yeah.
he changed.
Yep. Amen. Amazing. I love it. Like that's so powerful. I got goosebumps. I
Yeah,
wasn't
he's
really
just
about
such an amazing, yeah.
I wasn't around because I grew up super hyper religious. I wasn't really about Jesus, right? And I'd gone down all these esoteric, mystical paths and, everything but. And it wasn't until, and I'd had, like ayahuasca and DMT and all these experiences, psychedelics, but it really wasn't until this sister showed up when I was on the island. I was at the library working on my book, and she's tatted up, inked up, and like all of her hands and all of her wrists and her fingers and her neck. And I was like, oh man, this. And she was cute though, right? I was like, oh, she probably wants to come over here and talk to me, and my ego gets in, and she comes up to me and she's like, I love Jesus, and I was like, what the heck? Sorry, God, like, and she's like, you need to come to this event tonight. And I'm like, what is it? She's like, well, it's, like a little get together and stuff, like with a deliverance pastor. I'm like, I'm not going to go to like some deliverance pastor. No, I'm not. No, I'm good. And she's like, no, God sent me here to meet somebody. And I know it was you. Like, you have to show up tonight. I'm like, I'm not going. She's like, I'll see you there at 6. And I was like, all right. So I went. I knew I had to go. And so, they're in praise and they're in worship. And it was interesting because then they had these pastors that were at the front. They're like, hey, we'll come and like, we'll pray for people. We're going to put holy oil on people. Like, we're not about like religion at all. We're about a relationship. And, Yeshua's king, Jesus is king. Anybody that feels called to come up, come up. And my spirit just lifted up my body and I went forward. And I'm just like, hey, I just started speaking, and I'm like, I'm a sinner. Like, I've missed the mark. Like, I'm a drunkard. I'm a luster. Like, I'm an adulterer. Like, I'm just, and this was after tons and tons and tons of work, right? But I'd never really like confessed it. And then they start like praying for me. They rebuke the spirit of religion off of me. I'm on my hands and my knees, and I'm coughing and I'm screaming and I'm wailing, and they're casting out demons. And I've never witnessed this before. I'd never seen this before. And it was more intense than a psychedelic journey. It was more intense than DMT, like psilocybin, like medicine journeys, right? Like, those are great, done under the banner of Yeshua, right? For the right reason. But it was more intense. I coughed so intensely that I coughed up blood, and I'm shaking and I'm screaming. And by the end of it, something like, I knew things had left me. I could feel it. I was like, and I could feel this warmth and this love, kind of like being in heaven. And I was like, okay, all right, I get it. We're in spiritual warfare. Like, Yeshua's king. Like, this is like every, like this is the true power. Like, he's the real spiritual gangster. Like, you want to get into spirituality, like, that's the truth. And so I had gone like down all these paths and into the occultism and mysticism and all kinds of things to come back to the truth. Because if you go down far enough, you'll find out that that's the truth. And you're like, whoa. Okay, so it's intense. That's really cool to see that, like, he was just frozen fear, because I've seen it. Like, it's intense.
I know. There was a lady that I interviewed a while ago. She exercises demons, and she's done work on me. So I know that it's real. And
Yeah,
I mean, I could say, I don't have any demons. I didn't do anything. Well, let me tell you, you could be around somebody who has, and it manifests in such small ways that
yeah,
people don't realize, because they think, well, that's just who I am, and it's okay because everybody does this. But it changed me fundamentally. Like, from that time that she did
yeah,
that, everything changed within me. I'm happier, I'm more calm.
yeah,
I can't, and if it's okay to do in the Bible, why is it not okay to do in real life? I mean,
yeah.
isn't that what they're sharing in the Bible? There's a reason for that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And it's what the saddest thing is a lot of churches or religions, like, they don't practice it. They don't know it. They don't know where the authority comes from. It's like the authority comes from, the blood, the power, and the word of Jesus. Like, and there's not a ton of deliverance pastors or people out there that are exorcising demons. And it's just like, they're all around. Like they run rampant. And so like that's why it's important to be prayed up. That's why it's important to, be in holier places and not around people that have those kind of energies. Shield up as well. But I mean, yeah, no, it's intense. And so I think I know more people need to know about it. And that's I think part of my ministry as well. So
Yeah, it's amazing. Well,
wonderful.
thank you. That was lovely. Okay, so just before we go, do you have a message for our viewers?
The message is to know that you're loved, God is real, heaven's real, and we're really truly only like one miracle away from living our best life, from being happier, from being more grateful, from having something really wonderful and magical happening. Because I truly believe that God desires us to be healthy, wealthy, happy, abundant, so that we can share that with other people and that we can make our world a better place. So never lose hope and never lose faith and never fear, because the kingdom of heaven is within.